Hello and welcome to session 2 of the Asia Urban Energy Assembly, District Energy Developments in the Asia Pacific. My name is Peter Lundberg and I'm the Head of Operations at the Asia Pacific Urban Energy Association, or APUEA, and I will be the moderator of this session. First, I want to thank our co-organizers, Euroheat and Power and ASEAN Sustainable Energy Week, Informal Markets Thailand, and our sponsors today, Qatar and DBDH, for creating this session together with us. So a short introduction to this session is that district energy markets in the Asia Pacific are huge and is growing rapidly. And for example, India and China are in 2050 expected to have two of the largest cooling markets in the world. So this session includes presentations and a panel discussion on current and future district energy developments in Thailand, Malaysia, India, China, and Qatar. And the purpose of this session is to give insights into huge, fast-growing district energy market here in the Asia-Pacific region. I would also want to mention that there will be a Q&A session after our 5 speakers, and questions to our speakers can be submitted in the Q&A box. And remember to address the questions to one of the speakers if possible. I also want to mention that you can join the speakers and our sponsors in the networking lounge after this session. And the link to the networking lounge is available on the Eventbrite website where you logged into the event, and also will also be shared in the chat box. First, I want to start the session by introduce Michael Jacobson, who is the Executive Director of the Asia Pacific Urban Energy Association, who will give his welcome remarks. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Peter. So first, I would like to welcome everyone back who participated in the morning together with us, local time, but also welcome to all the new people join us from around the world. So while we in the morning talked about international experiences mainly, we will now focus on the Asia Pacific region and do some deep dives into some specific markets. Like Peter said, there is a tremendous development in the local district energy markets across Asia Pacific. We should also remember that the region is huge. The local markets are diverse. There are different drivers across the region, depending on where we are. There are diversity in terms of climate, but also economical development that creates quite unique markets. And also, as we touched upon in the morning, even when we are within one country, there are also diversities across a single country. So during this session, we will have a more deep dive, we can say, into the markets mentioned by Peter. We will look into Thailand, Malaysia, China, India, and we will also look into Qatar. So with that, I wish you all have a great session and looking forward to hear from all the speakers. Have a great session, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael, for those welcome remarks. I want to go ahead and introduce our first speaker today, who is Dr. Pongpan Vorayasayan, who is a senior professional electrical engineer at the Division of Energy Regulation and Conservation at the Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency at the Ministry of Energy in the Royal Thai Government. Dr. Pongpan's presentations includes an introduction to district cooling in Thailand, as well as insights in Thailand's current energy situation and also future energy goals. Welcome, Dr. Pongpan. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. Thank you for your kind introductions. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Just a moment. I'll share my PowerPoint. Okay. I hope everyone can see my PowerPoint. Okay. Again, thank you, organizer, for having me here today. Today, I would like to share information about status and update project of district cooling in Thailand. Also, I will begin with the Thailand energy situations to give you some background of the energy consumptions in Thailand. Okay, the energy consumption in Thailand currently consume about 77,000 kTOE per year. Nearly 50% of that is petroleum products. 20% is electricity. The rest are from coal, natural gas, and renewable energies. If you're looking at the energy consumptions by sectors, the transportation sector play a big part. Consume the biggest part in Thailand energy consumption sector. So taking into account about 38.4%. Next is industrial sectors, 37.3%. Then residential sectors, and then commercial and agricultural sectors. So these are the major sector energy consumption sector in Thailand. We are currently working on the new energy plan, which will combine all these 5 sub-plans, including power development plan, energy efficiency plan, alternative energy development plan, as well as gas plan and oil plan, into energy plan 2022. You can see that up to now, many countries taken the lead by announcing their countries will be net zero emission by this year and that year. Many of them are aiming by 2050. For Thailand, as in the COP26, our Prime Minister announced that the carbon neutrality will be at the 2065 year. In this new plan, we are focusing on 4D and 1E, including digitalizations. We will use of digital technology in energy management, using smart technologies, data-driven platform automations, decarbonizations. We will promote the use of RE, renewable energy, reduce CO2 emissions, more electrifications, electric vehicle, expand electricity network, also decentralization, for example, community power plant, energy trading, as well as deregulation to sandbox startup, for example. The plan will include the increased business competitiveness to low carbon economy, recovering measure from COVID-19, and improving air quality and reduce pollutions. From the IEA study, rising demand for space cooling is already putting enormous strain on electricity system in many countries, as well as driving up emissions. This rise in cooling demand, especially in the ASEAN or Pacific regions, will be particularly important in the hotter. Yes, will be particularly important, and there is no doubt that global demand for space cooling and energy need to provide it will continue to grow. As from this graph, show that from the IEA show that global energy use for space cooling in 2050s reach 6,200 terawatt hour in 2050s, with nearly 70% of the increase coming from the residential sectors, and much of it taking place in the handful of emerging economies. The share of space cooling in total electricity use in building grows to 30%. Cooling becomes the strongest driver of the growth in the building electricity demand. By introducing and applying higher energy efficient of the cooling equipment and system. The efficient cooling scenario greatly reduce the need of build new generation capacity to meet the peak demand. Conventional cooling system, as you can see from the pictures, switch tie package, air cool chiller, water cool chillers. These are what we are currently using in to cool our buildings, cool our residential. However, district cooling system are existing and also starting to gain some momentum in certain type of facility or buildings. As in the morning session, you might heard a lot of benefit of an importance of a district energy in the energy transition. Just quickly overview on the quickly give you a brief benefit again on the district cooling. District cooling systems are up to 50% more efficient, including load sharing, allow efficient use. District cooling system use approximately 15% less capacity, can use multiple energy sources, integration of renewable energies, can have a thermal energy storage, enable the potential to reduce peak load, long lifespan, reduce greenhouse gas obviously, and reduce heat urban island effects. For the district cooling in Thailand, there are a few projects that has been developed, and you can see that most of them are around metropolitan area or in Bangkok area, and it the first one is the green one is the existing one, and the red one is being developed or being in constructions or being under design. I will briefly give you one by one. The first one is the district cooling system power plant, DCAP. DCAP supply electricity, chill water, and steam to Bangkok International Airport, Suvarnabhumi Airport, main terminal, hotel nearby, and catering facilities. DCAP plant has 2.41 megawatt gas turbine, 2 heat recovery steam generators, and 12 megawatt steam turbine. So this is one of the earliest district cooling in Thailand, where it's operated since 2006. They generate both electricity, both chill water, electricity, steam, and chill water to supply around Suvarnabhumi Airport. The next one is the number 2 is the government complex. Chiang Watana, Bangkok is a multi-office buildings conventional center where the government agency housed in this building. It's starting to operate since 2009. Gross floor area of 975,200 square meter with cooling capacity of 12,000 refrigerant tons. It has area of 349 hectares with the building area of with the number of building in that. The building also is designed in the way that it has energy conservation buildings with the highly insulated building envelopes. Has multi-layer roof consisting of high reflectance value material are steel structures and 6 inches thick insulator. The wall is also inclined, which is a unique feature for the government building complex. By leaning outward, the sunlight exposed surface on the wall are minimized and heat transfer into building is 8 times lower than the perpendicular wall. It generating chill water and electricity to supply the buildings using natural gas. There are 2 4.7 megawatt gas turbine, 2 absorption chiller, and 2 electric chillers. The third one is the Sirirat medical excellence in Southeast Asia. In multiple buildings, it's a hospital campus. It operates since 2012 with a gross floor area of 238,000 square meters, cooling capacity of 6,000 refrigerant tons. Next is number 4 is the Kasikorn Bank is one of the largest bank in Thailand. It's the head office building at Rajburana with a gross floor area of 163,000 square meters and cooling capacity of 4,000 refrigerant tons. So number 1 to number 4 is the existing and in operations district cooling system in Thailand. Now the number 5, these are being developed or being under construction. Number 5 is the deforestry, is a mixed-use development, including mainly residential area consisting of condominium buildings, service apartment, detached house, and also commercial development, including hospital, office, hotel, community centers. They design the way that they use district cooling. The piping is underground, and they don't have air conditioning condensing unit, even in the residential area. Number 6 is the One Bangkok projects. Is the mixed-use complex, including hotels, office, condominium, hospital, and retail. Gross floor area of 1.8 million square meter and cooling capacity of 38,000 refrigerant tons, consisting of 16 buildings in total. The district cooling is also designed in a way that it will provide an accurate demand forecast based on weather forecast for the next day and a past demand analysis. And then number 7 is the Chula Smart City. Is concept development. It's a mixed-use complex consisting of hotel, office, condominium, hospital, retail, residential. Gross floor area of 842,000 square meters, cooling capacity of 18,000 refrigerant tons. It is the project was awarded to a consortium comprised of BCPG Public Company Limited, Singapore Capital, DHCS, Team Consulting, Engineering and Management. The project worth 1.5 billion baht, about 329 million US dollar, and to design, build, operate, and transfer the district cooling plant. This table shows the pattern or the structure where the district cooling in Thailand has been developed. This gives you 2 examples where Chula Smart City and One Bangkok is the district cooling project is developed under a joint ventures, including owner subsidiary. District cooling technology, the company or the one with the to hold the district cooling technologies. In this case, for example, Capel from Singapore or Tokyo Gas from Japan. There are also energy related company, which in this case BCPG Public Company Limited for Chula Smart City, or Gulf Energy for One Bangkok, and it also includes a local consultant where it provide a support on the consulting of the project. For example, in this case, Chula Smart City as a team consulting engineering and management. So this so in we can say that it's a big project in Thailand. Is mainly is a joint venture supply, build, own, and operate and transfer. There are also potential area where we can develop district cooling in Thailand, including Makasan complex, Bangkok, where with a center in the east, a train area of high-speed train development, commercial complex at Utapao International Airport, Chonburi, near the international airport in Chonburi, and a transit-oriented development along high-speed train routing, and large-scale and mixed-use complex development, and also smart city development area in Thailand, because the district cooling system is one of the significant component in the smart city, smart energy or smart city criteria. I think that will summarize the district cooling system in Thailand, and I hope that it will give you some background and some initial information of a district cooling system in Thailand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pompang, for sharing these insights in the district cooling market in Thailand. And it's very interesting to see the district cooling projects that are already built or is going to be built. I think it's also interesting to see the potential, and yeah, we look forward to follow the development of district cooling systems in Thailand. So thank you very much, Dr. Pompang. Yeah. So our second speaker today is Dr. Maud Hafiz Ibrahim, who is the president at the newly established Malaysian District Cooling Association, MDCEA. But Dr. Hafiz is also a general manager at the pending Inang Megajana company in Malaysia. Dr. Hafiz is here today to share insights on district cooling developments in Malaysia. So welcome, Dr. Hafiz, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. Can I share my slides now? Yeah, hold on. All right, okay. So hi everyone, I'm Dr. Hafiz from Malaysian District Cooling Association and also from Megajana. First thing first, thank you so much for your time. I know it's after lunch here in Malaysia, it's already 3:23. So I guess after lunch things a bit slow because we've seen a lot of useful information since morning. So I'll try to be a little bit less formal, but still we'll be providing deep insights about district cooling development in Malaysia, so that by the end of the session, you will know three things. Number one, what are the key drivers that can impact the future development of district cooling in the country? Number two, what are the challenges and opportunities of district cooling in the country? And number three, what would be the example for a large-scale district cooling in Cyberjaya? So this is one example that I'll be using to share on the development of district cooling in the country. Okay, so district cooling in Malaysia is very unique. Number one is because in terms of the weather, we only have 2 seasons here. we have either hot season or rainy season, only 2 seasons. And then in terms of the industry, it has been around for more than 20 years. So the industry itself is unregulated. So all the district cooling opportunities are driven by market demand and also based on negotiated basis. So this is the situation now in the country with respect to district cooling. And one thing that we learned through 2020 is that one thing that COVID-19 had taught us that we can't do things alone, meaning that as a district cooling company in the country, you can't be doing everything on your own. So this is where we established a Malaysian District Cooling Association in 2020. So this is in fact the first, within this region, the first industry trade association with respect to the district cooling. So our mission is very simple. We want to create a positive common platform for district cooling providers to network, collaborate, and share information and insights. Our core objectives are quite simple, very focused, knowledge sharing platform. We want to improve in terms of our best practices. We want to create a common unified voice. And also the most importantly is that creating more public awareness on the benefit on how district cooling can develop towards the sustainability goal of the country. At the moment, we have 6 founding members from TMB Engineering, Megajana, Gas District Cooling Putrajaya, Malakoff Utilities, Gas District Cooling Malaysia, and also Jana DCS. Currently, we just launched the MDCA organization in March this year. We are, I would say, like a newborn. So there's a lot of things that we need to learn. So hopefully we can launch more initiatives, more opening for more members to come in. Currently, we are sorting out in terms of the administrative matters. So, and then if you can see in the next slide, okay, this is the district cooling capacity based on the Malaysian District Cooling Association members. So we're looking at close to 1 gigawatt of energy. So we have mostly located in Klang Valley, the center part of Peninsular Malaysia, and we also have one at the southern part of the Peninsular Malaysia. Okay, hopefully when we get the more members to join the association, we could increase the numbers. We are also trying to improve with respect to the statistics as well. Okay, first part, what will be the key drivers that can impact, that can shape the development of district cooling in the country? So number 1 would be the government initiatives. Number 2 on urbanization trend. And number 3 is on the emerging industries. Well, I'll go for the first one. So when you talk about government initiatives, so currently there is no specific initiatives on district cooling, but there are related action plans, there are related policies which can help us, which can help district cooling to actually participate and support these initiatives. So we feel that there is a strong breeze of action plans towards this low carbon and sustainable energy path. Because if you look this year alone in Malaysia, things are quite active, quite happening, I would say. In April, Malaysian Climate Change Action Council was formed. So this is a national level platform, consists of the economic related ministers, chief ministers of the states, focusing on how to address on climate change. And in July, there's an announcement on National Low Carbon Cities Master Plan. I'll share more on that. And finally, in August, the government announced that there will be an increase on the unconditional carbon intensity reduction target from 35% to 45%. So in fact, in the COP26 event yesterday, the Environment and Water Minister announced that the government remain committed to achieve 45% by 2030 and to achieve net zero carbon by 2050. Other than that, there are also other ongoing initiatives with respect to sustainability, climate change framework, carbon market development, climate change policy, and also long-term low emission development strategy. Let me bring your attention on the low carbon cities master plan. So this is a master plan from 2021 until 2050. So what's in it for district cooling companies? Okay. Inside the low carbon cities master plan, there are 33 target cities. Inside the target cities, there are a number of cities which are required to develop their GHG plan. establish the reduction target and also to achieve net zero carbon. For example, in 2022, 15 cities are expected to come up with their GHG plan and 33% reduction target. And by 2050, we will be seeing these 15 cities supposed to be achieving almost net zero carbon. So this is where we see the role of district cooling providers in Malaysia now is getting bigger. This is how we think that district cooling can support towards accelerating these targets. Another thing is that with regards to budget 2020, so this is a quite famous thing, that things that we're looking forward regardless in any industry in Malaysia. So in the recent budget 2022, the government remains committed to meet the SDG goal towards low carbon neutral country by 2050. Of course, there are a lot of announcements related to the budget, but here I'm sharing on the item related to energy efficiency and sustainability. So you're looking here at some budget mentioned on going towards encouraging low carbon transition, protecting environment and empowering community, and also developing and maintaining infrastructure. So for example, a voluntary carbon market is expected to be developed and launched under the Securities Commission. So 1 billion ringgit is allocated for the program. Also, sustainability sukuk, something like green financing, green fund will be launched, will be allocated. The total amount is close to 10 billion ringgit. And there are also a lot of infrastructure projects to be developed. So we're looking at close to 3.53 billion ringgit. So these are the budget allocated for next year. And we see that as far as district cooling is concerned, we are able to support in order, especially going towards low carbon transition. The second thing that can shape the future development of district cooling in Malaysia is on urbanization trend. We think that it's going to be a warmer cities in less than 30 years unless you do something about this. Why do I say that? If you look here on the left-hand side, this is a migration trend and level of urbanization in the country from 1970 to 2050. So if you look today, the urbanization rate in Malaysia is close to 77%, meaning that 77% of the population are residing in the cities. By 2050, the number is expected to increase to 88%. You're talking about today, we have 32.7 billion population. By 2050, you're talking about 42 million of population, and 88% will be residing in the cities. So what does this mean? So more people will be staying in the cities and more energy will be required, and 33% of the energy used by then will be utilized for building space cooling. So that's a lot, okay? And one interesting fact that I would like to share as well is on this chart. Okay, this chart shows that the average days that the temperature exceed 32 degrees. So it shows from 1970 to 2050. So this has so much relation to urbanization. If you look here in 1970, imagine you are in Kuala Lumpur, okay? Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia. Into 1970, 140 days in a year, the temperature exceed 32 degrees. Today, in 2021, you're talking about 270 days in a year that the temperature exceed 32 degrees. That means from 40% in a year, the temperature is above 32 degrees. Now, it has increased to almost 80% in a year. So by 2050, it is expected that the number of days will be increased further up to close to 320 days. So that is around 88% of the time in a year that the temperature exceeds 32 degrees, meaning that it's going to be very hot. You're going to switch on more on your aircon. And because of this, the demand for cooling is expected to twofold. This would result in higher energy demand. And of course, when you talk about urbanization, more land is required. Land is going to be a big issue. And this is something that worth taking into account. Okay, especially not just for us today, but for our future. Okay, therefore, we believe that the urbanization requires more efficient infrastructure design, more efficient urban planning. And we believe as well, district cooling can be the driver to mitigate all these future urbanization challenges. Okay, so far, everyone? Okay, the third driver that can shape the development of district cooling in the country is the emerging technologies. Here, I focus on data centers. So when you talk about data centers, another thing about COVID is that everybody has, most of us, new norm, most of us have been working from home, more time spent at home. Yes, this will impact the businesses of district cooling because there's utilization in office space. Yeah? But one thing for sure is that the demand for digitalization is ever increasing. So you're looking at the Southeast Asia market, you're talking about 13% growth with respect to the data center market. And also because of this demand as well, this year alone, the government had launched a My Digital Blueprint. So this blueprint actually has the intention to transform the country to become a regional leader in digital economy. And one of the interesting announcements inside this My Digital Blueprint is that more data centers to be built. We're talking about hyperscale data centers. So we are expecting to see more key cloud service providers to build and manage hyperscale data centers. So when you talk about hyperscale data centers, the energy consumption is something that we can look into. If you look here, in terms of the energy consumption, 35% of the energy used on average for data centers will be used for cooling. Now, what if we can reduce this 35% by using district cooling? So this is where we see again the role of district cooling is getting bigger in terms of supporting the development of the needs of data centers. Especially when you talk about data centers will require electricity and also water. And other than electricity, reducing the demand, by using district cooling, you are also able to further reduce the water consumption from data centers. So this is, we see that the double role of district cooling come into the picture. Well, knowing the three drivers, we also know that there are challenges and opportunities for district cooling in the country. Number one, in terms of challenges, the level of awareness. The industry has been around for more than 20 years. However, the level of awareness can be further improved, especially at the policymakers and developers level. At the same time, we need to create more paradigm shift on the benefit of district cooling. Instead of looking at short-term savings, short-term benefit of district cooling, it should be looked at longer term throughout the life cycle cost of analysis. Yeah. And then in terms of urban planning, district cooling is just like another utility. In fact, it is a smart utility because you're talking about electricity, you're talking about water. These are utilities. Telecommunication are utilities. But district cooling as well is a utility. So there is a need to integrate district cooling into urban planning, especially in terms of managing the demand for urbanization. Having said that, there are a lot of opportunities. Peter also mentioned earlier during the opening. So district cooling is actually one of the strategic decarbonization initiatives that can be implemented in the country. Also, with the trend of urbanization, we see opportunity for district cooling to play a bigger role. And of course, with the development of emerging industries, more hyperscale data centers coming into the country. So this is where district cooling can support this development. And as well as the final bullet is regarding on the trade association like Malaysian District Cooling Association. So this is whereby we leverage using the MDCA platform to actually promote the benefit of district cooling and help in terms of stakeholder engagement. Okay, let me bring you to one of the large-scale district cooling in the country. So this is in Cyberjaya Smart City. So Cyberjaya Smart City is located in Selangor, a certain part of the country of Peninsula. So if you can see on the left-hand side, this is a picture of Cyberjaya. It's around 7,000 acres. High concentration on tech-based companies, affordable world-class infrastructure, and a living lab for innovation. And this is how a district cooling company by the name of Mega Jana is able to support the development of this smart city. So if you look at the evolution of district cooling in Cyberjaya, in 1999, there were only 5 buildings. Today, there are close to 47 buildings which are connected to the district cooling network of Mega Jana. In fact, if you look at a Megajana plant, currently they have 2 plants serving the Cyberjaya smart city. And in terms of the capacity, looking at 25,700 RT capacity. And in terms of the benefit towards a transition to low carbon transition, so we're looking at in 2020 alone, 20,000 tons of CO2 emission were reduced using district cooling as compared to conventional cooling solution. So this is almost equivalent to powering up 4,900 houses or eliminating the need to drive close to 6,400 cars in a year. So these are the case for, this is a case for district cooling development in the country. And you can see here, this is another map of Cyberjaya. You can see in 1999, there were 5 buildings connected to the system. Today, there are 47 buildings connected to the system with 2 district cooling plants. So for more information, you can browse at megajana.com.my. And there are also other tailor-made bespoke district cooling development areas in Malaysia. For example, Putrajaya, KLIA, KL Central, KLCC, Bangsar, and also Kota Iskandar in Johor. Having said all that, okay, here are my key takeaways. Number 1, the potential of district cooling in Malaysia is promising. With the government initiatives, with the action plan to achieve lower carbon footprint, this is where district cooling can support. Of course, on top of that, district cooling opportunities currently in the country are market-driven and on negotiated basis. Next, in terms of urbanization and emerging industries, the growth for these 2 areas need to be in a sustainable manner. So this is something which is very important, and district cooling is important, especially in terms of supporting the utilities. So district cooling should be seen as a smart shared utility. So this mindset needs to be educated. So this is where we, as an association, we try to play our role. And the level of awareness, again, this is where the role of the association, whereby we try to share the benefit, not to be seen in one angle. It should be looked at total angle. So in terms of looking from short-term savings, it should be at long-term life cycle cost benefit. So this is where we think that the level of awareness can be further improved in the country. And finally, Malaysia's own experience in district cooling. So today, if you can see in the slides, we have quite a number of established local capabilities and talent. The market is quite mature, I would say, with 20 years market experience. And this shows that the district cooling industry in the country is ready to support the country's future sustainable energy path. With that, Peter, thank you so much for the session, for my slot. So if there is any question about the association, about the interest of district cooling in the country, please contact us, mdca.com.my, and my email is there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hafiz, for this great presentation on the status of district cooling in Malaysia. I think it was very interesting, and also thank you for introducing us to the Malaysian District Cooling Association. And we from APA, we look forward very much to collaborate with you to promote and share knowledge about district cooling in the Asia Pacific region. So thank you. Okay, so we're going to move to our next speaker today, the third speaker. So his name is Pramit Gupta, who is a business developer at Tabreed, India. So Pramit is here today to present on the topic district cooling developments in India. So welcome, Pramit. The floor is yours.
So thank you, Peter and APUEA for having us speak here. It was a very nice discussion earlier. We got to know a very deep insight on by Dr. Hafiz on the Malaysian district cooling scene, and also Mr. Prongpan before on the Thailand district cooling market. I will briefly present the district cooling developments we have in India as part of the Asia Urban Energy Assembly we are here today. So just a very brief before I progress into the India specific things. I represent Tabreed. We are a UAE based district cooling company. listed in the Dubai financial markets, and we are owned by Mubadala and NG, two of our large shareholders, where NG is one of the largest district energy players globally. And they have also significant operations in Singapore, Malaysia, and other countries in the Southeast Asian region. So moving on to the Indian need for sustainable cooling. The Indian cooling story is in a nascent stage comparatively to the other tropical climate countries. So as of 2017, the overall space cooling market was estimated to be somewhere around 70 million tons, which in a space of only a decade is going to be around 3x of its overall capacity in 2017. And this could be attributed to the current low penetration of cooling in the country, the rapid urbanization. India has seen multiple cities grow more than in high double digits. So the cities that have been growing as a part of urbanization is as high as 14 to 15 cities at once. There are many cities which support a population of more than 10 million. And all this has happened in the last decade. Coupled with this, the rising per capita income and the changing climates, we have been having hotter summers each year. So all these contributed to a rapid escalation in the last decade, and which is set to grow in the coming decade as well. So by 2027, we are going to see around 268 million tons of cooling requirement. But India has a problem. There is a large unaddressable tail, which is the non-space cooling, non-chiller or smaller modular unit space cooling market, which is slightly unaddressable through the topic that we are discussing today, which is district cooling. So they are the types of end users like residential or small retail or educational sector, the smaller educational buildings, the small and medium enterprise businesses, which are mostly in tier 2, tier 3 towns of the country. And unless the government is acting on it through other energy efficiency improvement measures, district cooling does not right now seem to be the right way forward for this long fragmented tail. But we do have a significant chunk of the market, which was around 5 million tons in this decade and has the potential to grow 3 times to around 14 million tons in the overall demand, which is the commercial centers in the larger urban cities, which could be the office complexes, the malls, the airports, the hospitality belts, or even mixed use campuses with hospitals and schools built in. So these are these are type of campuses where a revolution have already started. The cascading effect of using high efficiency chillers have already started. So we are seeing quite a bit of good adoption where these campuses are, and particularly in the private sector, are using central cooling plants or captive cooling plants, which can meet the cooling requirements of the entire mixed use development. And this is going to grow as we move into this decade, and at the same time grow like around 3x to the overall installed base. But over a long term, as a country, and because of the climate change threats, and coupled with the worsening tropical climate each summers, International Energy Association in a report had forecasted that by India, the current baseline, which was as of 2015 and 2017, has a potential to grow 10x by the time we reach 2050, which in terms of quantification could mean due to climate change, the summer temperatures rising as high as up to 2.5 to 3 degrees Celsius beyond their current normal in the summers. This could mean a significant stress on the electric grid of the country, which the cooling itself in peak summers could demand as high as 800 gigawatts of power capacity, and in a year contribute to emissions of around 900 million metric tons of carbon by cooling alone. So when we have a country which is vast, which is growing at a very rapid pace, where urbanization is happening and population is also in the need of cooling, so there needs to be a sustainable approach to cooling, and district cooling here is the right answer for at least the segment which could be targeted through the chiller market. The Indian government previously, a couple of years back, came up with a very detailed Indian cooling action plan, where there were very strict quantifications of target, where they wanted to by the next 20 years they wanted to meet, or through demand side management, lower the 20 to 25 up to 25% of cooling demand through various means and measures of green rating systems or better architecture or efficient systems in place, as well as in turn reduce the energy requirements from such equipment by around 40%. But the Indian cooling action plan fell short of addressing the larger market, which was the chiller market, through a very robust district cooling directives, which we believe, until and unless the private sector participates, because district cooling as a very capital intensive infrastructure business requires private sector participation to bring that risk capital, to bring that culture of R&D required in this country, where the entire conversation of district cooling is very new. It has started only in the last 6 to 7 years. So the private sector has a huge role to play in turning around this business in the country, where significant inroads could be made and moved towards the country's sustainable development goals in a orchestrated way. The current, I will break down just at a high level the status of current district cooling projects into the business model, 3 kinds of business model by the participation of government. One is an outright public district cooling, which the government sets up. The second I will call as a hybrid district cooling, where a local authority or a development authority invites private participation through a concession-like framework. And the third I will say is a private or a captive district cooling system, which is one of the largest, which is a segment which is already the most widely adopted currently in the country. So coming to public district cooling section in the country, because of the government's lack of administrative and technical experience in this form of infrastructure, the deployment of large-scale pilot projects have been very slow. While there has been policy push about adopting sustainable means of cooling and district cooling per se in larger development projects, but the policy drivers till now has not been developed, which pushes the adoption of DCS in master plans by the government or local authorities which are building either a greenfield master plan or a redevelopment master plan. But one of the examples of a local authority constructing a district cooling system is for a greenfield city in the state of Gujarat in India, which is known as the Gift City. They have a very well planned district cooling scheme, and they have already implemented a district cooling plant which has a current installed capacity base of 10,000 refrigeration tons, with a potential to go as high as up to 180,000 refrigeration tons. When we speak of hybrid cooling model, so India has in the last 5 years started a very ambitious smart cities mission program, and sustainable cooling approach is very integral to that mission. So many of the smart cities have realized that addressing the cooling needs and participating with a private partner is the right way ahead. So there have been some very good pilots that have already gone ahead on this regard. Some of the cities have also started, doing great work under this framework to initiate steps in the right direction to which can ensure the implementation of district cooling in the long run. Some of the prominent examples are one of the new greenfield capital cities of a state being developed in India, tendered out through a concession model development of a 20,000 tons district cooling scheme. A couple of other cities which are extending or revamping their cities under the smart city mission of the government are also deploying in the master plan district cooling frameworks and integrating this with the networks in the city so that appropriately a district cooling scheme can be implemented to meet the cooling demand sustainably. The third model is what I'll call as a segment which is already been present. While the first two sections that I mentioned are very new at a nascent stage, but when I say the private segment has already adopted district cooling over the last 10 to 12 years now, there are several large IT commercial or office commercial campuses in which central cooling plants, which provide to the cooling requirements of multiple buildings at once. And also in this category, there are airports, the larger airports of the 4 metros of the country, which have significantly large sized central cooling plants, which meet the cooling requirements of
Okay, there seems to be some issues here with Pramit's internet connection. Pramit, can you hear us? Pramit, can you hear me?
We have a very dense development of buildings, and it will have over 60 million square feet of built up air conditioned area requirement, which will in totality require a peak cooling demand of more than 200,000 refrigeration tons. So while planning the greenfield city, the government of Gujarat, the development authorities there, they integrated district cooling scheme within the master plan as an interconnected integrated scheme, which will be cooled by three district cooling plants. Currently, one of the plants is in operations for the last 4 to 5 years. And one of the very innovative things, as I will say, as a country's first that the authority achieved was integration of the green building rating systems of the buildings being developed in this campus with the district cooling overall parameters. So this is while we speak, this is a project which is being developed. Currently, the installed capacity of this plant is 10,000 tons, which is going to grow rapidly as the campus expands and new developments start building in this. Currently, the campus supports around 8 to 10 buildings, and the government has a very good visibility of buildings in this decade going up beyond the number of 30 or 40, so which will eventually mean that the district cooling plant is expanded to meet the cooling requirements of this campus. Next is the smart city, the capital city of Amravati that I mentioned earlier. So this was one of the first PPP concessions in a public-private partnership mode, which the government of Andhra Pradesh had invited. Eventually, my company, which I represent, we had participated in this tender, and we committed to invest $55 million to build a 20,000 ton district cooling plant. So this plant was going to be serving the entire government complex, which was meant to house all the legislative buildings, the High Court, and all the executive buildings of the government, including some additional buildings to be added in this master plan in the future. So currently, the overall concession was drafted as a 32-year long-term concession in which a private partner like Tabreed was invited to design, build, finance, and operate the district cooling scheme and ramp up the installed capacity in a phased manner as and when the overall government buildings are developed. So this was one of the first public-private partnership models in district cooling field implemented in the country. This project, due to some state government changes, is currently being put on hold, but the concession remains active. Next is again the smart city that I mentioned is one smart city in the area of Rajkot, where the local municipal authorities have mandated in a smart city master plan that they are developing, all the commercial buildings must be connected to a district cooling scheme that they have planned and integrated in the master plan, including this is a first for the country where the residential buildings will also be connected to the district cooling scheme. Current anticipated load of the district cooling plant is around 30 to 32,000 tons of refrigeration, which will need around $60 million of investment. Once operationalized, this will again be one of the pioneers of hybrid PPP models of district cooling being implemented in country. Currently, as we speak, the local municipal authority have already started the works for the chilled water supply networks, and the district cooling plant tender is expected to follow sometime in the next year, early next year. Moving on to the private sector district cooling that are already in implementation and operation. In this segment, as I mentioned, there are already several examples across the country. Across 4 to 5 cities, there are large scale district cooling plants already serving the IT office and commercial office campuses. But to keep it short, I have highlighted 2 very good district cooling schemes in the private sector of the country. One of the schemes I am going to talk about is in a campus called in a campus of office commercial buildings developed by DLF Cyber City. So they have 4 district cooling plants, as is evidenced by the map on the left. They have around 10 commercial buildings, which is connected to a combined heat and power plant. So the base load of power is served from the CHP plant, and they have integrated absorption chillers, which works on exhaust. So this is essentially a very, very high efficiency cooling system. And they also have integration of multi-energy chillers, which either run on exhaust or various other energy sources like natural gas or hot water that can be generated. So this scheme is cools air conditioned area requirement of around 18 million square feet across a very large development area. And the overall installed cooling capacity for this plant is around 42,000 tons. Because it uses absorption chillers, it is one of the very best cooling efficiency and sustainable plants present in the country. And as well as this is one of the largest combined integrated CHP systems in the country. The CHP engines, I believe, are from a company named Broad from China. Because of the high cooling energy efficiency, they are able to save an unprecedented 100 megawatts, which would have otherwise been required through conventional electric chillers. So 100 megawatt of energy demand for cooling is being able to negate through this cooling system. And this overall district cooling plant has been in operation for now close to 8 to 10 years in this campus. Moving on, we also have a 12,000 ton cooling plant in a very well-designed LEED platinum rated campus, which is in the south of the country. This again is a IT office commercial campus, which has around 4.6 million square feet of office space built in an integrated system. Here, the campus follows a zero liquid discharge principle, where all the wastewater generated within the buildings are used, the effluent water is used for cooling tower purposes and meets the entire cooling demand in a very high sustainable manner. These are electric chillers, not like the earlier ones I discussed, but they are very efficient, and against a conventional cooling method, they are able to negate up to 5 megawatts of power demand that would have otherwise been required if not for district cooling. So these are some of the examples from all the types of segments that are right now present in India. As I did mention that private sector has taken a lead, and in most of the developments, private sectors are now increasingly adopting and in greenfield campuses, particularly, they are integrating district cooling design in their master plans. On the top, what you see is a conventional approach a developer used to follow maybe in the last decade, where, say, suppose this is a live case where Tabreed has been developing in the country, where, say, for a very large campus area with mixed use or a commercial use purposes, the developer used to go by a conventional model and install more than what was needed. Right now, all the majority of the developers in the country are shifting to district cooling model, where rather than installing a higher capacity, they are trying to integrate the entire campus cooling requirements in a single utility plant, which is a district cooling plant, and achieve project diversity benefits of cooling as high as 40% in the installed cooling base. And there have been a wide adoption of, in the very recent last couple of years, where thermal storage technologies are widely being used in the projects in the country, which again help in shaving off the peak power demand in the peak summers or in the peak daytime, where cooling is at its peak requirement. So a very significant amount of power demand can be negated, as well as the low time ambient temperatures of night and low electricity tariffs prevalent in the nights are also being used on. By moving what we have seen in the country, typical developers from a conventional model, by moving to a district cooling model in their campuses, are able to save up to 20% of power cost on a lifetime cooling cost basis. So like there are savings of up to 15 to 20% of overall capex and opex combined in a project only for cooling, which is a significant amount for a building.
Excuse me, Pramit, here.
Yes.
That was your last slide. Sorry for interrupting you. So yeah, we're running out of time. So you can wrap up. Thank you.
Sure. So that's from my side, Peter.
Thank you very much, Pramit, for sharing those very interesting insights on the cooling development in India. And I think you can agree on that there are huge opportunities coming up for district cooling in India in the next couple of decades, right?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pramit. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next speaker, our fourth speaker today, and I just need to inform you all that we are on a bit of a tight time schedule today. So we have two more speakers, and so I will remind you to keep the 15 minutes presentation time. So our fourth speaker today is Dr. Solun Chen, who is a senior advisor at UNEP DTU partnership in Copenhagen, but also a part of the District Energy in Cities initiative, also part of the UNEP. Dr. Solun will present on the topic district energy developments in China. Welcome, Solun. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Peter. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you for the invitation for this event. Let me share my screen. Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm very glad to present here, and good morning and good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I'm Jordan. I'm a senior advisor, and then I'm also leading the team of district energy systems in UNEP DTU partnership. Yeah, and then our work is mainly supporting the district energy in cities initiative under UNEP. Yeah. So actually, why we put district energy as so important? It is that in 2014 actually, UN has a climate summit, and then they outlined 5 key areas that can speed up the energy efficiency in the global level, and then district energy is one of them. And then based on this study, actually district energy together with other 5 has been part of the has been set up as an accelerator under the Sustainable Energy for All, and then to speed up the energy efficiency in globally. And so actually, when we see district energy, we consider it as a part of smart city, like some of the speakers mentioned before. And then it is a key to increase the use of renewables and also efficiency. And some of the technology, you know, that it is not it is either not feasible on technology level or economic level in the buildings. But when you switch the angle from a larger area, actually it can be viable. So actually we define the district energy system as a public service, and then including district heating, cooling, domestic hot water, and then it's makes it possible to integrate large scale of renewable energy, waste and free cooling essential. So here, actually, we define the district energy. The purpose of the district energy is to use as much as local energy resources as possible, and then to create or to develop a competitive and high energy efficient alternative to the traditional heating or cooling solutions. So actually, when we see the district energy system, actually it divided to 3 parts. One is the heating or cooling production part, like you can see on the figure on the right side. So actually in the modern district energy system, no matter district heating or cooling system, actually the production can be multiple production resources, including heat pump, including free cooling from river, and including solar essential. And then it will go through the distribution network to deliver the heating or cooling material to the end user. So that the other 2 important part is the distribution network and then also the end users. So when we say to increase the overall energy efficiency of the district heating or cooling system, it refers to the efficiency not only on the production of heating and cooling, but also the distribution, the network, and also the building energy efficiency. These 3 is quite important. So actually, on these days, I'm participating the COP26 in Glasgow, and then actually I found that there's a lot of focus or discussion on policies, on financial support, but they all focus on renewable, or most of them are on renewable energy, like wind power, like solar essential. And then I found that the energy efficiency, which is also can be considered a low-hanging fruit, but there's not too many discussion, and also I cannot see too many financial support flowing in. And then actually we consider, like, in order to implement district cooling system, there are 3 major drivers: the policy, technology, and business model. And then these 3 drivers need to work together closely so that the project can be implemented and operated, and then so as to contribute to the carbon neutrality in a high energy efficiency level. So that we need to consider, like, how to combine the sustainable or suitable incentive policy with business models and cost-effective technologies, so as to accelerate the implementation. So come back to China. Actually, China is a big country, and then when I'm trying to mapping, some of the district cooling projects, no matter it is under construction or in operation or under development, say in an early stage, and then to see where the district cooling projects located, and then this map is done finished in early 2020, and then I have to say that this district cooling projects in China is developing fast, and then as you can see that there are several different kinds of district cooling projects. So first of all, in south part of China, and then there's a lot of only cooling projects, as you can see in the blue starts, and then in north part of China, which there's a lot of district heating system already existing, and then there are a lot of district cooling project which is developed separated to district heating system, and then also there's some of the projects are now developing or under construction in the middle part of China, as you can see in the purple star, which combine district heating and district cooling together. So they're either combining, for example, the wastewater heat pump in the production source to produce heating or cooling, or they share the distribution network, like the project that I see in Beijing. They share the distribution network so that in heating season they provide heating, and then in cooling season they provide cooling. And then this setup of project, they also require some adjustment on the building level inside the HVAC system inside the building. And then as you can see in this table here, actually district heating in China, it is a mandatory request when you develop a district or doing the building design. So actually in the dark blue area, district heating is mandatory, but district cooling in China is more market driven, I have to say, so that there's no direct support or strong support from the government as district heating. But as you can see that the district cooling since like 1995, the first district cooling project was developed in China, and then in this past like 20 or 30 years, actually there's more and more district cooling projects coming out with very interesting or innovative business model with different kinds of technology. And then actually, in order to better understand like what is the driving force for district cooling or district energy projects in China, actually we did a stakeholders mapping and engagement exercise, and then in this exercise, actually this is just partial of the result on the national level, and then we trying to mapping that not only the national government but also like R&D institution, and also like a technology provider, and also the real estate developers in China. So that based on their interest and power to develop or implement district cooling or district energy system, and then we made different engagement strategy to them. So actually this is an example that for a commercial district cooling project, and then as you can see here that considering the large investment required in the district cooling project, actually we can see that there's a financial balance point only on the 8th or 9th year, and then so that is very important to face the district cooling system into like one or two or three or even more phases, and then also there's a regulation in China that as a public service, the IRR of district cooling cannot exceed 8%. But as you can see from the picture here, actually from the year 1 to year 9, actually the IRR of the project is less, very less, like even lower than 5%. But on the other hand, it means that in the life cycle, like 20-year or 25-year concession period, the rest of the year they will have a higher IRR. According to this district cooling project, from the 17th year, there's more than 10% IRR. Yeah. So. And then we can see that according to this analysis also that when the system reaches 58% of the total connection area, normally it is on the 9th year, and then they have the financial balance point, which is important to the developer or supplier. And then also when we develop the district cooling projects in China, actually one of the challenge as I can see is that how to define or how to design the price of the chi water. So actually in some of the projects in China, actually we have this we set up this baseline for commercial buildings. What we do is that we have a large scale investigation of the commercial buildings on the HVAC fee that the management team of the building will charge to their clients. And then we can see that like in the hotel or shopping mall office buildings, this per kilowatt hour RMB will be different. And then this can be considered as the ceiling price for all the for the district cooling system where they charge the end users. And then based on this, we develop the tariff. And then as you can see that normally there are 3 types of pricing system or tariff in the district cooling system in China. So the type 1 is the metering charge. They charge totally on what they use. And then the type 2 is capacity charge plus metering charge. So when you decided to use district cooling, and then you need to pay a basic charge for every month, no matter you use it or not. And then you need to pay this, and then on top of that, you pay the metering on how much you use. And then the last one is the combination of connection charge, capacity charge, and metering charge. And then for the type 3, actually, it is quite similar to the electricity tariff right nowadays in China. So at the very beginning, when you decided to connect, and then you pay a connection charge based on the capacity you register, and then every month have a capacity charge, and then on top of that, it is the metering charge. And then right now, actually according to our investigation, around 45% to 50% district cooling projects are using the type 1, which is the metering charge, and then 35% will use the type 2, and then there's not too much using the type 3 right now. And then here, actually, I gave you an example. I noticed the time, so I will go through it very quickly. So this is a project that we developed in Zhuhai, China, very South China, as you can see in the map. And then it is a combined cooling, heating, and power to cover the whole island of 106 square kilometers. And then the total build-up area of the commercial buildings is around 20 million square meters. And then the phase 1, including a power plant, and then also the heating supply for the industry nearby, and then also based on the waste heat from the industry and from the power plant, and then for the cooling. So here is the project. Sorry, Peter. Yeah, I will finish within 2 or 3 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, Chen, unfortunately, we are really running out of time, and I'm very sorry for that.
Okay.
So we have to move on to the next speaker. Do you have something you can wrap up if that's okay?
Yeah. So I will go to my last slide. Sorry. Yeah. So actually, this is the takeaway, and then the first one actually, according to our lessons learned, and then we need to define the clear role of the government in the district cooling projects, and then the local government should act more like a judge in a match instead of in terms of publishing guidelines, coordinating the planning, and then assure the long-term operation. And then also the capacity building needs is quite necessary for the local stakeholders. So on considering that, actually we are developing the knowledge management system, which is a virtual platform for capacity building, and then we plug in all the reports, training materials, tools essential on the system. So here is my my presentation. Sorry about the time, and back to you, Peter.
Thank you very much, Shan, for that very interesting presentation on the district energy developments in China. There's a lot of. I wish we'd have more time, but we have to move on to the next speaker. And our fifth speaker today is Mohammed Kader, who is a commercial and development director from Qatar Cool. So Mohammed is here today to present on the topic international experience for district cooling market in Qatar. Sorry. So Mohammed, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me in this panel. I'm going to share my presentation now. All right, so I'm going to focus here about the benefit of district cooling, in particular to reducing the carbon emission. Going to go very quickly on the experience we had in the last 18 years and focus on the electricity and water, basically reduction, and how it can benefit the environment by using district cooling. So to start with some statistics about air conditioning in general, there is around currently 1 billion single room air conditioning unit in the world right now, and it is envisaged that the number to go up to 4.5 billion by 2050 if we keep the same pace. The air conditioning is worldwide is the contributor of 13% of the electricity consumption. However, in the Middle East, Gulf region in particular, and I think in Southeast Asia as well, this number goes up. In Qatar, this number goes 50% or 55% all around the year, and 70% during the summertime, which is 6 months in Qatar here, the summer. The result of this electricity that is used by air conditioning is about 2 billion tons of CO2. The district cooling, how it's compared to other conventional way of cooling in terms of kilowatt per ton, is basically 2.2 kilowatt per ton used for split air conditioning, 1.8 in window AC, 1.7 in air cool chillers, and it is 1 in district cooling. What does that result? We will see in a moment. District cooling, just as basically a recap of people who are not familiar with district cooling, it is similar to any other utility service where you have 3 components: the plant, the pipe distribution network, and the connection with the customer, which is the energy transfer station. In Qatar here, for the district cooling plants, we use the electricity as a source of to energizing the chillers, and also we use water for the cooling towers. The government here is using basically natural gas to produce the power, the electrical power, and the fresh water or the potable water comes from desalination plants. That's in the introduction for what we are going to see in a few moments. So before that, to touch base on what Qatar Cool and the history, what we have been doing. Qatar Cool started in 2003. We were found in after 3 years from there. We started we finished the first cooling plant in West Bay area. 3 years after that, the second plant was up and running. In 2010, it was the milestone for operating the largest district cooling plant in the world, which is 130,000 tons of refrigeration in the Pearl, Qatar. In 2017, we operated the 4th plant, which is located in West Bay area. And we are now building the 5th plant, which is the 2nd in the Pearl, Qatar. And it is expected to be up and running in a few months during 2022. That makes the installed capacity for the plant that we are operating around 240,000 tons of refrigeration. And that makes Qatarcool one of the largest district cooling providers in the world. Qatarcool is basically a district cooling provider and operator. We do work based on BOT, where we have our own team, technical and operation services team in-house. More about Qatarcool, we are serving 2 districts in Doha. This is the first district that you can see on the screen. It's a skyline where you have lots of the towers in Doha, and it's considered as a financial hub. We have 3 plants serving about 70 towers at the moment over there. These towers are commercial towers, residential, hotels, malls, and also 4 metro stations we do serve. When you look at the metro station to be served by district cooling, you will get to know how the level of awareness is becoming towards the government and the decision makers of trusting the district cooling to be a reliable source of cooling for such a key transport method and key thing in Qatar, which is the metro is something new in Doha here. The 2nd district that we are serving is a man-made island. It's called the Pearl, Qatar. It started in 2007, and now it's about 80% completed in terms of construction. There we have the largest district cooling plant, 130,000 tons, and we are building the 2nd one, as we just mentioned, of 18,000 tons, and that is built because there is an extension of new small island attached to the big island, the Pearl, Qatar. Here we do serve mainly, we serve all of the developments, but they are mainly residential buildings. There are hotels. And what is unique about the service here, that we do serve small villas as well, 30 ton, 40 ton. And also we go all the way to the individual apartments and villas, and we send the cooling bills. It is similar to the power, water, telecommunication utilities. With the 10 years of experience, with the 18 years of experience, we have gathered the last 10 years of data that we have to show you the numbers that we came across and we were achieving. So first, this column chart shows the connected buildings from 2010 all the way till 2020. In 2010, the air-conditioned area that was connected with district cooling was about 2 million square meter, and 2020 we have around 5 million square meter, and this number is expected to reach around 8 million once we have completed the Pearl, Qatar, and also we have 7 towers in the West Bay to be connected very soon. So with these buildings, if the district cooling was not existing and these buildings used the conventional way of cooling, the power that is going to be used is going to reach to around 700 million kilowatt hour in 2020 alone. This number, this curve here shows the amount of kWhr every year. While because of using district cooling, this power was reduced substantially, and this curve shows the actual figures and the actual kilowatt per hour that has been used to produce the same cooling energy for these buildings. This means a lot in terms of save power and save the CO2. Before we go to the savings, let's also touch on another side that we are very proud of in Qatarcool here, related to the water. We have used fresh water at the beginning of our operation till 2015. There we have switched from using fresh water to treated sewage effluent water in our plant in West Bay. So in 2015, That was the first initial stage of switching. So it was a hybrid operation from fish to TSE. So the amount that we use at that year was 23,000 cubic meter at 2015, while the fresh water at that year was 1.44 million. And then the phases of the project was increased from there on. So we can see in 2016, our usage of TSE was more than the fresh water. In 2017, the transfer or the conversion of fish was nearly 100%, leading us to 1.6 million of TSE versus 21,000 cubic meter of fresh water. In 2000, and the story goes on till 2020, where we have just used 10,000 cubic meter of fresh water in our operation. The result of this conversion of TSE has resulted in saving in the following savings of fresh water. So in 2015, it was 7,500 cubic meter. We have avoided using fresh water. 549,000 cubic meter of fresh water was avoided and saved. In 2017, 1.1 million, 1.2 million in 2018, in 2019, 1.5 million, and in 2020, it was 1.45 million cubic meter that was saved. The cumulative of these savings for the last 5 years, 2015 to 2020, was around 6 million saved potable water. It is a known figure in the industry of desalination water that you need about 3.2 to 3.5 kilowatt per cubic meter to produce such water. So if we save 6 million, that means we have saved also 20 million of power that was required to produce the same amount of potable water. And that saved power means that the environment was saved from CO2 by 11 million kilogram of CO2 due to the switching from TSE, from freshwater to TSE. Now going back to the bigger contributor of reducing the CO2, which is the electricity. The cumulative figure of saving the kilowatt per hour during from 2010 to 2020 was about 2.6 billion kilowatt hour was saved. And that saving is coming from the difference between using conventional way of cooling versus district cooling. And that results in about 1.4 million ton of CO2 that was saved. And district cooling is a major contributor of such savings. To put these numbers into perspective, the savings in a ton of CO2, which is 1.4 million, it's equivalent to removing around 305,000 cars off the road with their emission of CO2. And also it is equivalent to planting 18 million trees, which is required to absorb this kind of this much of CO2 emission. 18 million trees is equivalent to planting them in an area equivalent to 51,000 football ground. That's a huge. We're talking about football ground here because we are going to host the World Cup next year. So we're trying to put this into the presentations, preparing for that and promoting that maybe. And in addition to the CO2, we're talking about also the KWHR, the saving in power, which is 2.6 billion. To put it to perspective as well, is basically the 2.6 billion KWHR, which was saved, is enough to power 10,730 houses a year, every year. For each year, this is the amount of power is required for this much of houses and villas. We're talking about villas a year. Qatar is using natural gas to produce such power, and Qatar would need to basically use 30 million MMBTU to produce such 2.6 billion of power. And if we are evaluating this much of natural gas, it will be in the amount of $82 million that can be used, and that natural gas can be sold out to and used as a revenue source for Qatar. Just to conclude, we have this figure that we came about 36. So what does 36 means? 36 is basically each square meter that is connected with district cooling can save 36 kilogram of CO2 per year. And that is enough, that is equivalent to planting 4 trees, basically. That is the ultimate objective of, that is the ultimate, I would say, benefit of using district cooling, is to save the power and accordingly saving the CO2. With this, thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for those great presentation and the insights from Qatar, how using district cooling to reduce CO2 emissions and water. So unfortunately, we have run out of the time for the session. We have to jump into the next session, which is the Global District Energy Climate Awards session. But I can also say that you can continue the discussion and meet up with the speakers in the networking lounge that is open now, but it will also be open after the awards ceremony. So we look forward to see you in the upcoming session here starting at 4 and also in the networking lounge later. So thank you very much for me, and hope to see you soon.